But back to Foley. He put in his book that I hit Jake Roberts so hard with the guitar, with the best guitar that was ever made, that I hit Jake Roberts so hard with the guitar, it damaged Jake's neck, and Jake shortened his career or something, and Jake had to go have neck surgery. So all this culminated in just kind of like, it's like this is just burning my ass, all this nonsense. So I fired back. And I fired back by saying, Foley, should get your facts straight. I didn't hit Jake with the best guitar that was ever made. It was some cheap bullshit they bought somewhere. It was a good guitar. It was good. It was big. It was heavy. But Foley didn't come and ask me. He took Jake Roberts' word for it. Now, we all know Jake, and Jake's got his demons, and damn, what's in there? Ooh! I love Jake to death. He's got his demons, he admits it. But if I'm going to get the factual information, I would probably ask both sources. And that was my beef with Mick, so I called him out on it. And you know what? He was man enough to pick the phone up and call me and say, I've heard about this. I heard you made these statements about me saying these things in the book. And, Ric Flair said some things in his book about me, and I had to call the office to find out if this guy's really real. And he said, I just want to know. I've known you for a long time, and we have. Well, I've known, I call him Cactus, or Jack. I've known Jack since he started in the business. We had a tour together a long, long time ago. And I liked him, and I liked what he did. I told him, if you keep doing this, you won't be around very long. Yeah, anyway, we made our amends, and I appreciated the fact that he called, and I told him, I said, this is why I did it. Because all these other things were coming out, and he said, man, if I'd only known, he said, yeah, you're right. I should have probably, once I asked Jake, I probably should have asked you too. I said, well, gosh, you had my number, just call me anytime. So then we kind of kissed and made up on the phone, and I appreciate that. So that's where that goes with him. But the whole point, Rob, is these books it should be fiction, because none of the stuff they're saying in there, especially if you put out a book and WWE is the publisher on the book or whatever, or they have the rights to it. Now you got these guys. Flair even says, he goes so far to say, McMahon gave him back his respect. He gave him back his dignity. Well, if he wasn't working for that company at the time he wrote the book, would he really have said that? I think not. I'd heard from the fans, I have never read a wrestling book. I don't read the wrestler's book because I picked up the Arn Anderson book one day when Arn did a book a long time ago. I picked his book up on the shelf one day, and I opened it up, first chapter. He mentions his first match with Bob Armstrong, but mentioned nothing about he was a young heel and Bob Armstrong's making a comeback, and Arn took a bump. His name then was Marty Lundy. Bob hits him. He goes down, takes a bump, doesn't get up as fast as Bob wants him to. Bob reaches over to pick him up, grabs him by the top of the hair, pulls the toupee off. And Marty had it glued on, so it just ripped all the skin off like it'd been scalped. But he didn't mention, I thought if you're going to write a book, that would be a story you would put in your book, that I had a toupee on and the guy reached down and pulled my toupee off. Bob looked at it, he didn't know what to do, threw it out to the audience. It's funny as hell. It's a great. I would hope someday if they still have the footage, they could ever show that, because that was one funny moment in professional wrestling. It's a funny moment in television, period. But he didn't mention that in the first chapter of the book. So then he got into, by the time I got to the second chapter, he was already Flair stooge and riding the highways with Flair. So I closed it, put it back on the shelf, walked away.